welcome back to the Wildcast. It's a brand new year, January 2020.
It is. We're excited to be back, guys. Back in the office. It's our first week back. We had a bit of a holiday break, which was lovely. I hope you guys also had a holiday break. And we thought that what a great way to start the new year would be to start by reflecting on last year. And Ash and I have had a bit of a ritual over the last couple of years, and certainly the last 2 years, which is that she has a list of questions for me at the end of the year that we use as a bit of a reflective piece just to consider about what we've been doing that we enjoyed, what we learned, what came up. And we were doing it over dinner the other night down in Fremantle. And I thought actually this would be a really great way to start the podcast again for 2020 and have some great questions. Now, these questions are timeless in the sense that the lessons are great lessons, but also you can do these same questions as well. So if you are checking out the video, awesome. If you're on the podcast, thank you for listening, by the way. Make sure you subscribe and download, leave us a review. But what I want you to do is in the show notes, we will be giving you a list of all the questions that Ash asks me. And I have asked her to change up some of the questions as well. I don't know what particular one she's going to ask or in what order, and it's been a big week since I answered them over dinner. So
yeah, they could have changed since then.
They probably have. So yeah, this is what we wanted to do to get started. Welcome to 2020. We hope you have a wild year, as it will be for us. Yeah, over to you, Chica.
Alrighty, so I have the questions here on my handy dandy phone. Question number 1 is, what was the single best thing that happened this past year?
Well, that's an easy one. For those of you who follow us online, you'll know that we were married this year and we had a phenomenal wedding in the Maldives, or Maldives, depending on how you want to pronounce it, with friends and family on a beach and on overwater bungalows. And that was by far the best week of my life. And that was just truly remarkable. Our honeymoon then after that was pretty special as well, obviously. So that would absolutely be the best thing that happened to me this year.
It's lucky that you answered it in that way. Okay, question number 2. What was the single most challenging thing that happened to you this past year?
There was a lot of challenges, and we take on board a heap of challenges in this business and in our lives. I think trying to coordinate and pay for an overseas wedding in the Maldives was more challenging than we anticipated it would be. For those of you who don't know as well, to give you a bit of a backstory, I proposed to Ash not last year but the year before in the Maldives. And when we were there, there's a reason why people go there to propose, by the way, and not to get married, because it's a ludicrously expensive place. Yep. And when we were there, I was like, well, I wonder if it would be possible for us to get married here. And then we're like, well, look, the challenge of that being is that, our family really just doesn't have the economic means to fly, particularly with the kids as well, to fly to the Maldives and stay there. It's a very expensive place. But we decided to set the goal, which is, well, what if we could pay for that? And we ended up finding a great place in Club Med, and we put down a deposit and we was making payments towards that. And then in September, not last year, but the year before, what would be the equivalent of about 5 months from our wedding, we went to Club Med to realize that what Club Med advertised and what they actually delivered were so different. And this was not at all the wedding we were looking for. So we canceled the booking at Club Med. We lost a heap of money, and we found ourselves in October of 2018 without a wedding venue for a family that was planning on being in the Maldives for February. So we had 4 months to find, or not even 4 months, 3.5 months, to find a new wedding location, to pay for a new wedding location, and to pay for a new wedding location for 42 friends and family who were all flying over there at our expense. So it was that was ridiculous. Like, we did it, obviously. We had an amazing wedding, and we are married. But the process involved in that was beyond challenging and stressful. So I would say that was probably the biggest challenge of the year. And also, at the end of last year, we expanded and we did some stuff in the United States, and that was very rewarding in many ways, but it was enormously challenging. A new market, very competitive market, and also a very skeptical market as well in the States. So they were probably my 2 biggest challenges.
Yep, I would agree with both of those things. Okay, question number 3. What was an unexpected joy this past year?
Well, there's a lot of joy in our lives. Outside of the wedding stuff, it was unexpected just how amazing that was going to be for everybody, but it was probably anticipated. Yeah. Probably one of the biggest things is we made a decision this year last year, sorry, we set 4 goals last year. We did 2 of those 4 things. We didn't do the other 2. But one of them was to upgrade our household environment. We were living in a lovely little home, but it was very much a home that a couple of years back we could afford to live in. And it was designed just to be a smart choice rather than an indulgent one. And I think for us, we don't spend a lot of time at home, or we at least didn't last year. So we wanted to make sure the time that we did was really valuable. So I think the upgrade to our house in Fremantle, in South Frio, was a huge win. And being able to take our dog for a walk every morning on the beach has probably been an unexpected joy. I just didn't realize how much I would love it.
Yeah. Beautiful. And on the flip side of the coin, number 4 is, what was an unexpected obstacle?
I feel like if you're an entrepreneur, you'll appreciate this, but I'm sure if you're a parent as well, you'll probably appreciate this. That I think every day there's unexpected obstacles. One of the ones that comes immediately to mind is that, to give you a bit of backstory, we went to the US in the end of last year and we did a tour. We did 9 events across 5 cities in the US of A. And in Australia, when we do an event, we would normally get, if we were running an event, we would normally get a 25 to 35% show up rate. So if like 100 people register, we would get the better part of 25 to 35 people to attend at the very, very least. Normally, it's even much higher than that in some markets. So we went to the US with that same paradigm, only to realize that actually the numbers were way off. So we sold tremendously well in the States. I was getting 80 to 100% conversion rates. However, our show-up rate was so bad, and it was at about 1 to 2%. Which changes the business completely. So that was probably the biggest one. I just had no idea that was going to be such a challenge in that marketplace. I mean, we still did really well, made a lot of money, but it was an unexpected challenge that I had really no idea that was going to be there. So that was probably one big one. And the wedding challenge as well. I just didn't anticipate how challenging that was going to be. I think that's said of every new to be wed couple. They don't anticipate how hard that's going to be.
What, being married to me or the wedding in
general? No, getting the wedding off the ground.
Oh, okay.
Baby, being married to you has been an absolute breeze.
Alrighty, number 5. Moving on.
Yeah. I didn't make any facial expressions to the camera for people on YouTube.
I don't know.
Still.
Yeah.
Still.
they weren't raised.
So I didn't have my fingers crossed at all.
All right. Question number 5. Pick 3 words to describe this past year.
3 words to describe this past year. Wild. No pun intended. It was definitely a wild year in good and bad ways. I would also say, wild. I would say it was very challenging as well. That would definitely be a word I would use to describe. And it was enormously rewarding as well. They were the words I would use to describe it. But yeah, I like to keep you on your toes, baby. You should know something about me. Being your husband, I'm always changing. At any moment, I reserve the right to change. I'm not the man I used to be, even last week.
Okay. Question number 8. Oh, sorry. It's not actually question number 8. I skipped 2. So question number 6. What were the best book or books that you read this year?
Oh, book or books?
Book or books?
Book or books.
One or many?
So I've just finished reading 2 books. Admittedly, one was this year, not last year.
Yeah, you can't use that.
Well, I'm going to. It's my question, my answer to your question, okay? So I'll tell you what my answers are. Welcome to married life, ladies and gentlemen. You can't even get your own fucking books. So one of the books that I read last year, this is a book I read last year, was from Elena Cardone. That was Stealing Ash's Answer. Yeah. I did read that first. So I really liked Elena Cardone's book. Shout out to Elena Cardone. And I reread a lot of the Grant Cardone stuff as well because we got to meet them this year. That was a huge, wonderful surprise as well. So that was great. I also loved What It Takes as well by Stephen, I think it's Schwartzer from Blackstone Capital. Incredible book. Really connected very well with that. And I downloaded a ton of books, but I've just updated my phone.
You liked the one by David Goggins, right?
Oh, yes. I completely forgot about that.
That's what your answer was the other day. Can't Hurt Me. Is that it?
No, it wasn't. I'd never said that book the other day.
Yes, you did.
I didn't. I never once said it. I said What It Takes.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought you meant David Goggins' book, so
No.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Anyway, that was a great
Yeah,
book.
David Goggins' book was a great book as well. I really enjoyed that. Oh, and I also read as well On Our Honeymoon, believe it or not, from
I believe it.
my boy T. Harv Eker, Millionaire Mind. That was a good book.
Fantastic.
Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Definitely more on the
didn't
plural
read that.
side than the singular side.
Yeah, I have an abundant mentality. I don't like to feel limited.
Okay. Question number 7. Who were your most valuable relationships with?
Obviously, you, my queen.
In what way?
I don't have enough time on this podcast to go through all of the different ways. Let's just say there are many. I'll also have to say, because he's in the room with me, Jason Barrett, my brother. And some people would say brother-in-law. I would just say brother. Yeah, that's how close we are. I would also say as well, seeing as I've got to have to do the full Barrett trifecta, Kim Barrett as well. Those of you who don't know, Kim Barrett runs one of my subsidiaries called Your Social Voice. She's an employee of mine, and she's done a great job for me in the past. So shout out to Kim. Let's see if he actually listens to our podcast. If he does, he'll reference.
Yeah, for the record.
No, there's no need to update the record. It is a subsidiary. It's a
not.
small minor company of my conglomerate.
Kim's company.
Yeah, if you're just tweet or Instagram at real Kim Barrett and just let him know who his boss is. It's me. So no, relationship I have with Kim has been outstanding in this last 12 months. And then I would also say as well that I've had a very interesting and very impactful relationship with Dad this year as well. Tony Coyles definitely doesn't listen to this podcast, but
No way. You can be open and honest.
yeah, exactly. Well, let me tell you what I really think, Dad. No, the relationship I've had with him has been very insightful. He's taught me a lot, and also I've learned a lot by just watching some of the challenges that he's dealt with in his business and his married life as well in the last 12 months. All I'm going to say is bitches be cray.
Bitches do indeed be cray.
Yeah.
Just not this one.
No, not you, baby. Not you. I will never use that with you.
Lol. Okay. Anyway, moving forward. Anything you wanted to add to that?
Nah.
Was there anything anything you wanted to add to that?
And for those of you listening to the podcast, Ash has just made this sort of weird rocking gesture with her shoulder and stuff. I don't know exactly. It was like a little jig.
It's nice for the people to know why they were valuable relationships.
Well, if you want me to go through that, I can. But there's a lot of questions here.
Sure. Doesn't matter. They were just.
I think that you have been my relationship with you has been valuable to me because you are a consummate sign of support, and you are always there for me emotionally and spiritually, and some would even say financially. Some might. But no, I think we make a tremendous team, and I think you've been just beyond amazing in everything that we've attempted to accomplish and achieve, and many of those ideas come from me, and you sort of have to find a way to sort of figure it out, and you do that amazingly well. Jace has been so loyal and supportive, and just been fantastic at finding a way to make all the crazy shit that we do work and finding a way to make the best of it. Kim is a very level head and easily able to sort of be a sounding board and tell me what to do and what not to do, and how to be able to do what I do well better, and how to stop doing the stupid shit that we do along the way. And Dad's been valuable for all of the reasons I mentioned before.
Awesome. I hope that gives you guys more insight. Anyway, moving forward, question number 8.
Yeah.
I believe.
No, you've definitely messed up these numbers.
Anyway, question number 8. We'll see. What was your biggest personal change from January to December this past year?
Personal change?
Yeah. Single biggest personal change.
Well, I think obviously getting married would be a big personal change. And then with that as well, getting fat. Jason and I swapped. I gained body fat percentage and Jason lost body fat percentage. Hopefully this year we swap again and he gains body fat percentage and I lose it. No, I think biggest personal change was the marriage, and then obviously from a health perspective as well. I'm only partly joking about the getting fat part. Wellness is definitely something that I want to work more on as well. The schedule's been very demanding. And I've been enthusiastically bulking, as Jason would say, and now I'm ready to shred. Shred life has begun.
Awesome. Cool. So moving forward then to question number 9.
Yep.
I'm going to combine a bunch together
Please do.
for the sake of speed and efficiency.
Yeah.
In what way or ways did you grow emotionally and spiritually? I think you kind of combine those things anyway.
Emotionally and spiritually, yeah, I think they're the same thing, really. I grew emotionally because of some of the challenges that we took on board. I think one of the things you got to wear as an entrepreneur is the responsibility that you have for people around you, and also the ability to execute and get things done. Mike Tyson has a quote. He says, "Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face." And I think we had plenty of plans last year until we got punched in the face.
Yeah.
So I think we did an amazing job, the two of us, with regards to resiliency and creativity and the ability to think on our feet quickly. And I think I definitely learned more about how to do that well last year. So that would be a big one. And I think spiritually as well, when you're in your darkest times, when you're in the most challenging times and all of your good ideas have come to an end and they're not really working, it's then when you've got to really rely on faith to see you through those times and trust that everything has always been okay up until this point, so everything will be okay moving forward from this point. And I definitely, my faith and my belief in myself and also in spirit was tested many times last year. Heading into the wedding, when we were in the United States, particularly, they would be the definite ways.
Awesome. Next one we've got. What was the most enjoyable part of your work?
I love many aspects of our work. I love the speaking and delivering seminars and training programs. I love masterminding with people and coming up with creative solutions, particularly in business, and finding innovative or strategic ways to help people solve and achieve goals, etc. So that's definitely an enjoyable part of my work. I am a salesperson and a deal maker at heart. So anytime I'm hunting a deal or making something happen or pulling together a partnership or doing something in that regard is always so rewarding and very much fuels me. Anytime I feel like I'm making progress, which is pretty much anything I do in my work, is something that I really enjoy.
Beautiful. Next question. We've got, what was the most challenging part of your work?
Challenge. Oh my God, my mum. She's obviously listening at some point somewhere. Most challenging part of my work is everything that's not those things. The coordination. The most important thing, by far, the most challenging part is the travel.
Yeah.
Is trying to run a business whilst also being on the road. I don't know how many flights we took last year. I don't have a number for that.
At least 6,000.
Yeah. So it was absolutely 50 a day. The most challenging part of this is running this business whilst also trying to be on the road.
Yeah. Now this one's open to interpretation. So next question is, what was your single biggest time waster in your life this past year?
My biggest time waster. Well, I think we made, I'm not going to mention any names, but I think we made some hires in the early part of the year as part of our strategy, particularly with regards to sales, that meant that we ended up spending a lot of time having, what Jason and Kim would call hand job conversations with a whole heap of people that never actually produced any results or any real value for the business, but took a heap of fucking time. And so you end up just understanding the value of talent and people being able to produce a result. And we had a few of those things. We hired a heap of people at the beginning of the year that ended up being a huge waste of time. Not everybody, but majority. And then also in addition to that, we hired another company to try and do this outsourced in middle of the year. And they were a massive waste of time as well. So that was probably the two biggest wastes of my time.
Awesome. Next one is, what was the best way you used your time this past year?
Speaking, coaching, training people.
Beautiful. Last two questions before we wrap up. What was the biggest thing you learned this past year?
The biggest thing that I learned this past year is that I am capable of more than I realized I was. It's hard to conceptualize that. Like, I know that makes sense when I say it, but I always believe I'm capable of anything. but there's the belief of, I can do anything I want to do. And then there's the actual, oh, wow, you're in a really challenging position right now, and you saw that through. And I think that really was affirmed to me. That was probably the biggest lesson that I picked up in that. And in addition to that, I said this to you when we were married in our vows. I said that the angels that brought us here have plans for us that we know very little about. And I think I realized with a big bitch slap across the face many times last year from the universe that there was a lot of things that I thought were going to happen that didn't, and a lot of things I didn't think were going to happen that did. And you got to just sort of roll with the punches. That would be it.
Yeah. Awesome. And then final question for you. Create a phrase or statement that describes this past year for you.
Well, in addition to the one that I just mentioned, I would say this, and we actually have this on our house. It's as you walk into our front door, it's on our gate, and it's a quote from Kennedy, and it says, "Only those who are willing to fail greatly will ever achieve greatly." And I think that's definitely a phrase that I think was relevant of last year. And in conjunction with that, one of my favorite quotes, and I actually don't know who said it, which is that doubt kills more dreams than failure ever could. Failure killed many of our dreams last year, but it wasn't doubt that did.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of the fact that even in the times where we lost, we still won because we attempted to do things that most people would never have attempted to do. And I'm proud of that. That doesn't always mean to say that that was the smartest thing to do, because sometimes wisdom prevails over doubt and failure. And hopefully this year we make less mistakes, but just do it better. But nonetheless, I think they're probably some of the key phrases for this year.
Beautiful. Well, that wraps up our reflection questions for this episode of podcast/video, whichever platform you guys are on. Yeah, I think you had some really, really good learnings this past year, and I'm really proud of you and us for everything that we've accomplished.
I'm proud of us as well, Chica. Thank you for being my best friend and teammate in this journey.
You're welcome.
And to everyone that's listening and watching, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, as always.
I'll post all of the questions down below for you to answer yourself, and if you have some really cool lessons or insights, we'd love to hear from you as to what those were, either via comment or on Facebook, or if you connect with us personally, any of those options are
100. And on top of that, guys, make sure you go back and watch some of the other episodes or listen to the other episodes in the podcast. And if you have questions, we'll be kicking off Wild Wednesdays as we know it. And that'll be kicking off if not this week, next week, for you guys. And so please email your questions to us, either Facebook or Instagram, YouTube, or by mail at a podcast at wildsuccess.global. That's podcast at wildsuccess.global. Again, all of that's in the show notes. Massive thanks to Jace for pulling it all together, and we will see you guys next week on the Wildcast with Calvin, and in this case, Ash. Lots of love, good luck, and God bless, guys, and we'll see you on the wild side.